He asked to be punched. And somehow, that was not even the strangest thing Michael Ennis said on a rugby league field. The National Rugby League is brutal, right? Massive hits, broken bones, guys leaving everything out there for 80 minutes of pure warfare. But here's the thing most fans miss. The real battle is not always physical. It is mental. And one player turned that psychological game into an actual art form. Michael Ennis, a premiership-winning hooker who played for Cronulla, Canterbury, and Brisbane, did not just compete. He weaponized weird. While other blokes were out there trying to intimidate with aggression and tough guy nonsense, Ennis was asking opponents about their weekend plans and real estate prices while they gasped for air in the ruck. Legends who played against him have revealed the weirdest trash talk in NRL history. And trust me, this stuff is so bizarre, it makes you wonder how he even thought of it. Think about it for a second. You were in the middle of a finals match, adrenaline pumping, every muscle screaming, and some hooker is casually asking if you have checked out the latest mortgage rates. That is not normal. That is not how trash talk is supposed to work. But that was the brilliance of it. Ennis understood that predictability is weakness. If you know what is coming, you can prepare for it. But how do you prepare for someone treating a rugby league ruck like a casual chat at the pub? You cannot. And that gave him an edge nobody else had. The genius was in the absurdity. While everyone else was trying to be the toughest guy on the field, Ennis was being the weirdest. And weird is harder to defend against than tough. How did this guy get under everyone's skin without even sounding tough? By the way, if this story is already making you laugh or cringe, hit the hype feature and hype this video up so more league fans see the madness that went down. Seriously, this needs to be seen. So let me set the scene properly. Michael Ennis was not your typical enforcer. He was not the biggest guy. He was not throwing the hardest hits. But he understood something most players did not. In a sport where everyone is prepared for physical pain, mental disruption is the ultimate weapon, and Ennis wielded it like a scalpel. His approach was not random either. It was calculated, precise, and absolutely infuriating to anyone on the receiving end. While traditional sledging in rugby league relied on hyper-masculine aggression, direct insults, or threats, Ennis pioneered something totally different. He used eccentricity, he used inanity, he used surgical precision to mess with people's heads. The beauty of his method was that it exploited a fundamental truth about professional athletes. They train their bodies to handle pain. They prepare mentally for aggression, but nobody prepares for politeness weaponized against them. Nobody runs drills on how to respond when someone asks about the weather while you are trying to play the ball. That gap in preparation was Ennis's playground. And before we get into the small talk nonsense and the makeup kit revelations, we need to talk about the moment he crossed a line so massive that an entire city wanted his head. The Viking clap incident. This is where Ennis showed he was not just targeting individual players. He was targeting entire fan bases, entire cultures, and he did it with a smile on his face. Here is what went down. Back in the 2016 NRL Finals Series, the Canberra Raiders had adopted this thing called the Viking clap. You have probably seen it. Fans do this rhythmic chant with an overhead clap, and it builds this incredible atmosphere. Iceland made it famous at the Euros, and Canberra embraced it hard. It was not just a cheer. It became part of the Raiders' identity. It represented the resurgence of the Green Machine, this newly found cultural mojo for the nation's capital. The fans loved it. The players loved it. It was their thing. Now picture this. High-stakes qualifying final. Cronulla Sharks versus Canberra Raiders. The game is tight, brutal, everything on the line. Cronulla grinds out a gritty win. The final siren sounds. Most players would celebrate with their teammates, maybe wave to their own fans, and head to the sheds. Not Michael Ennis. He walked straight over to the pocket of Canberra supporters and performed a full mocking rendition of the Viking clap, right in front of them. Let that sink in for a second. He did not sledge a player. He did not talk trash about their performance. He mocked a ritual that an entire city had embraced as sacred. The outrage was instant and absolutely massive. Ricky Stewart, the Raiders coach and a guy who does not hold back when he is angry, absolutely lost it. He called Ennis disrespectful. He called him offensive. And then he dropped the line that stuck. He said it was typical Michael Ennis. Stewart argued that how a player behaves on the field shows their true character. And mocking defeated fans after a win, that is the mark of a bad winner. Ennis tried to defend himself. He claimed he was just stoked about the victory and was clapping along with the small pocket of Cronulla fans in attendance. The league community did not buy it. People called it a lie, a straight-up excuse to cover what everyone saw as a calculated insult. And here is the genius part, even if you think it is twisted genius. By attacking that ceremonial ritual, Ennis was not just getting in one player's head. He was deconstructing the emotional architecture of an entire organization. The Viking clap was a bond between the team and the city. He stomped all over it. Fans were polarized. Some thought it was hilarious banter. Others called him a grub, but everyone was talking about it. And every single time Cronulla played Canberra after that, the atmosphere was charged with an extra layer of hostility. That condition favored Ennis. He thrived in high-pressure, high-emotion environments. So yeah, he crossed the line, but he did it knowing exactly what would happen next. Now let us get into the truly weird stuff. The thing that made Michael Ennis different from every other pest in rugby league history, the small talk. Picture this. You are lying in the ruck. You just got smashed by 3 defenders. Your lungs are burning. You are trying to get up for the next play. The referee is about to call held. And then you hear it, a polite voice asking you about house prices in your suburb, or how the weather has been lately, or what you did last weekend. You are thinking, what the hell is happening right now? That was Michael Ennis. While the physical nature of the ruck is typically a place of intense exertion and whispered threats, Ennis turned it into a bizarre tea party, and it worked. Opponents have described it as the most annoying, jarring experience they ever had on a footy field. The psychology behind this is actually fascinating. When you are playing at that level, you are in what they call a flow state. Your brain is locked into physical cues and tactical responsibilities. You are reacting on instinct. Now imagine someone forcing you to switch out of that mode into conscious social interaction. That transition is cognitively expensive. It costs mental energy. It creates hesitation. And in a sport where split-second decisions matter, that hesitation can be the difference between a win and a loss. The structure of Ennis's small talk was almost methodical. He would open with a greeting, nothing aggressive, just friendly. Then he would ask a few body questions or random personal stuff. And then, right as the referee called held, he would smoothly exit the conversation like nothing happened. He never used the opponent's name, which kept it impersonal enough that they could not get a clear reason to retaliate. And here is the kicker. Physical retaliation was way easier for referees to penalize than polite conversation. If you shove a guy's head or pull his hair, that is grubby behavior that gets punished. But asking someone about the real estate market, good luck getting a penalty for that. Ennis exploited that wiggle room in the rules perfectly. He pushed limits without crossing into territory that would get him binned. And the result? Opponents would be so frustrated, so mentally scrambled that they would make mistakes. They would give away penalties. They would lose focus. All because some bloke was babbling meaningless nonsense at them while they were trying to play football. It was psychological warfare disguised as friendliness, and it drove people absolutely insane. But the weirdness did not stop at random small talk. Let me tell you about number 5. Benji Marshall, a creative icon of rugby league, one of the most skillful, composed players the sport has ever seen. And even he could not handle Michael Ennis. The on-field friction between these two was intense. Ennis targeted Marshall relentlessly. He sledged him, pestered him, got in his ear every single chance he got, and eventually, Benji snapped. During a match, Marshall, usually one of the calmest blokes in the league, slapped Ennis right in the face. Let that sit for a moment. In the NRL, striking an opponent, even with an open palm, carries serious consequences. You can get sin-binned. You can get sent off. It is a high-risk move. And Ennis pushed one of the best players in the competition to that point. That slap was proof. The sledge worked. Ennis secured a tangible advantage for his team by breaking Benji's composure. And he did it without needing to throw a punch or yell some dumb insult. He just talked, persistently, annoyingly, relentlessly, until Marshall could not take it anymore. Years later, the two of them ended up as colleagues on Fox Sports NRL 360. You would think the trash talk would stop, right? They are professionals now. They are analyzing the game together. Nope. Ennis kept going. And this is where it gets hilarious. On air, in front of a national audience, Ennis revealed that Benji Marshall brought his own specialized makeup kit to the television studios. We are talking moisturizer, powder, brushes, the whole setup. Ennis said the makeup artist loved Marshall because he did all the work himself. He called Benji a favorite who absolutely loves it. Now on the surface, this sounds like harmless banter. But think about what Ennis just did. He took a legendary player, a Golden Boot winner, known for his incredible step and attacking flair, and reframed him through the lens of meticulous grooming habits. He shifted the public narrative from superstar athlete to a guy who is really into his face powder. It is a subtle sledge, but it is effective. It humanizes the opponent. It diminishes the aura slightly, and it keeps Ennis in a position of playful dominance, even in retirement. That is the Ennis method in a nutshell. Find a weird personal detail, reveal it in a way that seems friendly, and watch the public perception shift just a little bit. The evolution of the Ennis-Marshall interaction is actually fascinating if you map it out. On the field, it was persistent verbal ear-bashing until Marshall physically retaliated. In the media during 2015, Ennis threw backhanded compliments at Benji, calling one of his amazing tries the best fluke try ever, which sparked public debate about whether it was skill or luck. Then on social media and radio shows, Ennis disclosed personal vanity details like the makeup kit, redefining Marshall's media persona. And eventually, in professional discussions on NRL 360, the two of them analyzed serious issues like gambling and league integrity together, showing they had developed mutual professional maturity. But even in that mature phase, Ennis could not help himself. He still found ways to get little digs in. That is commitment to the craft. Now here's where the story takes a twist that nobody saw coming: the villain arc. Michael Ennis, the guy who mocked the Viking clap and enraged an entire city, ended up joining the Canberra Raiders coaching staff in 2019, working directly under Ricky Stewart. The same Ricky Stewart who called him disrespectful and offensive just a few years earlier. How does that even happen? It required serious emotional intelligence from both sides. Stewart had to put aside his personal feelings and recognize the tactical value Ennis could bring. And what was that value? Teaching the art of being a pest. Ennis was brought in to mentor star hooker Josh Hodgson and refine the technical aspects of the position, specifically the art of manipulating the markers and the referee, areas where Ennis was considered an absolute master. The qualities that made him a grub on the field, the attention to detail, the understanding of pressure, the relentless work ethic. Those same qualities made him an effective coach. Canberra needed that edge, and Stewart swallowed his pride to get it. The fact that this redemption arc even happened shows how the NRL works. Inside the inner circle of the game, people understood that Ennis's trash talk was always a professional tool, not a personal vendetta. It was gamesmanship, not genuine hatred. And the proof came in 2020 during a media interview. Ennis, now working for the Raiders, poked fun at Ricky Stewart's visible chest hair, calling it a winter coat growing out of the collar. Stewart's response? He called Ennis a rude name with a big smile on his face. The hatchet was buried. They had moved from genuine animosity to friendly banter. And that transition tells you everything. The people inside the game knew what Ennis was doing the whole time. It was psychological warfare, not actual malice. But here is the thing. Even with all the pest behavior, all the sledging, all the mockery, Ennis also had lines he would not cross. Despite his reputation for cheeky barbs and on-field antics, he spoke seriously about integrity. He talked about match fixing being unforgivable. He discussed the complexities of problem gambling and how difficult it is to distinguish between a social habit and a genuine problem. He argued it is a fine line for senior players to invade a teammate's privacy regarding gambling, and that the social pressures and vulnerabilities professional athletes face are real. This perspective shows nuance. It contradicts the simple grub label. Ennis transitioned from being labeled the biggest grub in the game to a premiership-winning legend and a respected voice in the media. He navigated completely different personas: the pest on the field, the analyst in the studio, the mentor on the coaching staff. And he did it all with intelligence and a deep understanding of the social and psychological fabric of Australian sport. The weirdest trash talk ever revealed by his peers was not just for laughs. It was a masterclass in professional disruption, and the ripples of his actions are still felt. The Viking clap is now used at weddings. Rival fans use it to mock the Raiders, and the ritual's significance was permanently altered by what Ennis did. His career stands as a definitive case study in how a player can weaponize personality to achieve sporting excellence. The NRL needs characters like Ennis. Love him or hate him, he made the game more interesting. He gave fans something to talk about beyond just tries and tackles. He created storylines that lasted years. And in a sport that thrives on passion and tribalism, that matters. The debate still rages today. Was it brilliant gamesmanship or just being a grub? The answer probably depends on which team you support. But the fact that we are still talking about it years later proves the impact he had. Ennis made people feel something. He made opponents angry. He made teammates confident. He made fans divided. And that emotional engagement is what sport is all about. Think about the players who come and go without leaving a mark. Talented guys who play solid footy, but never create a moment that sticks in your memory. Ennis was the opposite. Every game he played had the potential for something memorable, whether it was a clever play, a heated exchange, or just some bizarre comment that left everyone scratching their heads. He understood that being forgettable is worse than being controversial. Better to be the villain people remember than the nice guy nobody talks about. Fans are still polarized, still debating whether it was genius banter or grubby behavior. And that debate keeps the sport alive. It keeps people talking. It keeps people caring. Michael Ennis made sure his name would forever be synonymous with the weird and wonderful art of the sledge. And honestly, the game is better for it. So was Ennis a genius or just annoying? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you made it this far, hit that like button, subscribe for more NRL deep dives, and let us keep this conversation going. Cheers.